Chapter 3 Knox was across the street from the governor's manor for the second time that night. He glanced up at the moon, trying to judge exactly how far they were from dawn. In maybe 10 minutes more, he would have to go in for her, which was not a prospect he was looking forward to. Besides the dozens of guards searching the city for him, the manor had tripled the guards on duty. He was good, but not as good as Tila was at night work. Tila was the one best at getting into places unseen, which was why it was so infuriating the kids had gotten her caught. When they came back without her, he thought about telling them to fuck off and not come back. Both Afternoon Nap and Coughing had offered to come with him to rescue her, but they were in timeout until he got back. He had also finally told them what their stupid names meant, which would please Tila. Why hadn't she gotten out yet? Was she hurt? They wouldn't hang her till morning. They liked to make a spectacle of exterminating rats. But he was getting nervous. He dug his toes into the dirt and stretched his senses out. It was hard for him to feel through the walls, but she was definitely there, and moving. He let out a sigh of relief. He hadn't actually had any plan to get her out, and as much as he prided himself on flexibility, that was too much winging it. He had spotted a way to climb the wall, but it was in full view of 2 different guards. He couldn't hold an illusion strong enough to hide himself for long enough to get up and over. No one was coming and going from the manor, so he wasn't going to be able to talk his way in. Plus, not even he could talk his way past guards specifically looking for him. He felt an out-of-place wind, heard Tila's voice whisper, "Southeast, distraction," and sent the wind back with a murmur of, "Got it." He dashed through the courtyard and slunk around the corner. He was out in the open here, so he needed to be quick. He glanced around for anything easy and lit the thatch roof of a shop on fire. It was old, dry, and only needed the slightest spark to start smoking. As soon as the first shout of "Fire!" rang out, he headed back around the corner. Tila slipped over the wall, moving like a shadow. As soon as she was beside him, they headed silently down the alley. A fire was a very obvious distraction. Someone would be looking for whoever set it, then checking the cells. "You didn't have to come get me, Mika." "You sure? What took you so long?" "Had to return a set of keys." He opened his mouth to ask her what she meant, but she kept talking. "And I was grabbing this." She tossed him a bag, and while they waited in the narrow alley for guards to pass, he looked inside. It was probably around 10 gold. Not nearly as much as they would need to get to Victoral, but at least enough to get them off of Milliken. The bag had the seal of the Van Ter cloaks on it. "Did you take the Van Ter's pay?" "I didn't want to leave with nothing." "Good job." They watched the street silently for a moment before he spoke again. "And you were right. The kids were a bad idea." "No shit." "I'm sorry." Tila shrugged. "We both thought we needed them. Where are they now?" "Thomas is babysitting." Tila snorted, and Mika smiled over to the shadow hiding his cousin, the only family he had left. By the time they got back to the warehouse, the streets were full of guards. "Thomas," Mika called as soon as he stepped foot inside, "you're going to go buy us passage off of Milliken." As soon as the boy stood up from behind a crate, Mika tossed him the purse. "Get 2 passages to Bryden. Tila, me, and Afternoon Nap will travel by chest." The boy raised an eyebrow at him. "Am I buying chests?" Mika pulled a face, looking around. "Yeah, I don't trust these to be big enough with padding. Get ones with locks." Coughing opened his mouth, probably to suggest he could help, and Mika shot him a silencing look. There was a reason Thomas always booked passage for them, especially when they were running. He looked significantly more Victoral than the rest of them. He had nondescript hair, brown eyes, a broad open face, was average height, and slightly broader in the shoulders than average. He looked like a farmer or a carter. He didn't have citizenship papers, because, like the kids, he was a free islander, but his nondescript looks got him into places the rest of them couldn't go. He was a piss-poor liar, but damn good at giving just enough truth. And he had far more experience than both the kids combined. He had been traveling with Mika since he was 14, for 11 years. Thomas nodded and headed out, pausing to squeeze Tila's shoulder as a silent welcome back. In the quiet after he left, Coughing was wringing his hands, and Afternoon Nap was gnawing on her lip. Mika raised an eyebrow at them. "Well?" Pry open some of these crates and see if you can find something soft. I don't know about you, but I don't want to be in a chest for days with no padding." The girl raised her hand, as if she was in a classroom. "Yes? Do you mean I'll be in the chest? You are your brother, and you are smaller. Tila got us some money, but not enough for 5 passages, and Coughing swore that none of the guards had gotten a good look at him." "But the entire voyage?" "Depending on where luggage is stored on the ship, maybe." To be honest, it was highly unlikely. He had only been stuck in a trunk for a full voyage once. It had been a 2-day trip, and it had nearly killed him. It had been before he met Thomas, and the only way he had off of Sundane Island had been to ship himself to a friendly innkeeper. He had locked himself inside with 3 canteens of water and prayed the innkeeper would break the lock quickly once he was delivered. The man had thought him an idiot for locking it, but Mika knew how unaccompanied luggage was treated. Someone had tried to open the trunk 3 different times before he got to his destination. Mika had arrived severely dehydrated, battered, bruised, starving, and so hot his head felt like it would crack open. "I don't know if I can do that." He raised an eyebrow at her mercilessly. "You'd be amazed what you can do when the other option is a noose. Afternoon nap." Her face crumpled, but she followed her brother off to search the warehouse for padding. She paused next to Tila for a moment, murmuring, "I'm sorry we got you caught." Tila nodded and added, "We probably will be able to get out of the trunks as soon as the ship leaves dock. Plan for a couple of hours." Blushing, the girl glanced over at Mika and whispered, "Can you get him to stop calling me Afternoon Nap?" "You're the one that chose the name," Mika replied for Tila, and blushing harder, Sarah continued on her assignment. Sighing, Tila pulled herself up on a crate, visibly exhausted. "Had to use a lot of magic to get out, didn't you?" She nodded, laying back, clearly planning on a nap before Thomas got back. Whichever ship Thomas got them on would probably leave after dawn, which would give them just enough time to prepare the chests, get in, Thomas to get them to the ship, and settled in the hold. Mika needed to find as many canteens as possible and get them filled, but for now he sat down, exhausted himself. He had used a good bit of magic too, escaping the party, keeping himself hidden, plus getting the musicians to bring him to the party in the first place, keeping a slight illusion up all night to alter his appearance, and then the normal energy of performing. Of the 2 of them, Mika was usually the one that got caught. Mika had to get himself out of jails every couple of months. He knew how to do it. He was great at picking cell door locks. He fit through impressively narrow bars. He could talk the best jailers into giving him harmless little things that he could use. He could spot a bribable guard a mile away. He rarely needed help getting out. Tila had only been captured twice in the years they had been working together, and this was a fucking dangerous place to be captured. But she was looking more thoughtful than stressed. "Do you remember the boy and Ross who lived next to Grandma Lana's inn? The carpenter's brat who was smitten with you?" "Smitten?" He shrugged. "He's a Van Terrecloak now." Mika snorted. "Damn, he had seemed nice. Bit of a goody-goody, though." Mika just snorted. He knew damn well that Tila had been head over heels for that boy. He had been the only person in the entire village that she had wanted to say goodbye to before she left. The first words out of her mouth when Mika told her she needed to run had been, "But I'm supposed to bring Christopher one of Grandma Lana's pies in the morning." At least now he knew what had taken her so long tonight. "Did you talk to him?" "Yes." "And?" "He told me if I needed money I should have gotten a job." Mika leaned back against a crate, laughing.